Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Saturday night halaqah. Tonight, inshallah, we'll talk a little bit about one of the great Imams of Islam. And sure, some of you have heard of his name. His name is Abu Hanifa. How many of you have heard of Abu Hanifa? The majority? Kind of. Good. Don't feel ashamed if you have not. But I think it is important that we know our heroes. He's one of the heroes of Islamic scholarship. And of course, he is also the founder of one of the great schools of Islam. And when we say great school, we mean school of fiqh. Do you all know what fiqh is? Anyone? What is fiqh?
I don't know how to explain it because I know in Arabic I used to take classes.
Oh, you used to, okay, good. So this brother, what's your name? Muhammad. He used to take classes in fiqh, but he cannot put a definition to fiqh. What is fiqh?
Like Islamic studies.
Islamic studies, very good. We're getting close. Yaman? Schools of thought with different interpretations. Now, school of thought, I know this is common, but maybe this is not the best way to translate fiqh. Fiqh is basically the understanding of Islam. So for example, you might open the Quran. I know many youth today, they open the Quran, but they don't understand much. And they say, you know, I'm reading, I might understand the text, but I don't know what it means. I don't know what it wants from me. So fiqh is the attempt to understand what Allah wants from us. It's the attempt to understand what God wants from us. And that's why you need a scholar, because sometimes you need to spend years studying, just like, you know, medicine or law or science or engineering. You need to spend some time trying to understand the main text of that science or that knowledge. I think the best definition of fiqh is to find solutions to current problems. Somebody came to you and asked you, well, how do I pray in school? Like, we don't have time, or can I combine two prayers? Like, can I combine Dhuhr and Asr? Can I pray them together because I don't have time and the teacher doesn't allow me, or something like that? Or there's no place to pray. So you need a scholar, you need someone who understood Islam and understand the principles and the law, and he can give you a good answer. That is fiqh. So fiqh is really to provide answers to current problems. And this is why we need, people like that. All right. So if you remember last time, we were talking about people who speak on behalf of God. And those people don't have any knowledge. They just make stuff up and they start judging others. And they come and say, you are a believer, you're not a believer, you're a munafiq, you're a hypocrite. This is because they don't have any knowledge, they don't have any foundation. Today we're going to talk about the opposite, the people who have knowledge. Now you might say, well, Imam Abu Hanifa lived long time ago, like 1,000 years ago. That's a long time, right? In fact, he was born year 80 and he died 150. This is not the Gregorian calendar, this is the Hijri calendar, the Islamic calendar. So 80 years after the migration of the Prophet, this is how we date in Islam. So he was born year 80. When we say he was born year 80, it means he was born 80 years after the migration of the Prophet. And what migration am I talking about? Yes, Mecca to Medina. Good. These are things all of us should know, by the way. When I say fiqh, everybody should know, I know what fiqh is. Everybody should raise their hand and say, I know what fiqh is. If I say Abu Hanifa, everybody should know who Abu Hanifa is. If I say Hijri calendar, this is the Islamic calendar. All of us, there's no excuse that I do not know, you do not know what the Hijri calendar is. This is why we're here. So he was born 80 years after the migration of the Prophet from Mecca to Medina. Now we have to know that these times, those times close to the Prophet, were blessed times. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith, he said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ قَرْنِي. The best of generations, or the best of people, are the ones who are in my generation. And these are, who are they? The people who lived with the Prophet in the same time. What do we call them? Sahaba. Very good. Excellent. Very good. So he said, the best of people are the people who lived in my generation, and the people after, and the people after. This is why we give names to those generations. We say Sahaba, and then, very good, Tabi'un, and then Atba' at-Tabi'in. The followers of the companions, and then the followers of the followers. Okay, so Imam Abu Hanifa was not born in a family of scholars. You know, in the old days, if your father was a carpenter, most likely you're going to be a carpenter. There were no schools back then. Like if you go back, I'm talking about more than 100 years ago or so. If your father was in the field, working in the field, most likely you're going to be working in the field. So you just take after your father. Now we have the school system, and now we have many, many options. So back then, Abu Hanifa was the son of a businessman, and this man had a clothing store. That was his trade. So by definition, Abu Hanifa was going to be like that. He was going to go, take after his father and sell, all kinds of, clothing or cloth, and be like that. And indeed, when Abu Hanifa was a young man, this is what he did. But Abu Hanifa was very clever, and he had it for business. He liked business. And he said to his father, can you please not make the noise, please? Thank you. He told his father, I want to renovate the place. I mean, this is not going to sell much. So you can tell he had it in him. I mean, some people had, this business talent, and some people don't. I mean, don't feel bad if you don't. But some people have it in them. Like they want to go out and buy stuff and sell stuff and make money and all of that. So, and then he told his father, I also want to find the best businessman in town. Now they were in Kufa. Kufa was a big city at the time. Kufa is in Iraq today. And it's not a well-known city today. On the map, if you look for Kufa, you probably don't find it. I don't know. I don't think you can find it. But back then it was one of the major cities because Imam Ali radiallahu anhu, and who is Imam Ali? We all should know Imam Ali. Who is Imam Ali? The Prophet's? He was the fourth Khalifa. Very good. What? Nephew. He was the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. Ali bin Abi Talib, because Abu Talib was the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. So Ali would be the cousin of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So we know Imam Ali moved the Khilafah from Medina to Kufa. So before then, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, they all ruled in Medina. Medina was, the White House, right? It was the center of governorship. And Imam Ali was the one who moved the Khilafah to Iraq. For various reasons. We're not going to go into them. So Abu Hanifa was in Kufa. And his father and his grandfather, in fact, his grandfather was close to Imam Ali. And it's narrated, Allahu A'lam, it's narrated that one time there was some form of a celebration, and the grandfather of Abu Hanifa, he was good in making sweets, and he made some really good sweet. And Imam Ali took some and he tasted it, and he liked it so much, and he said, let's celebrate every day because of how good it was. So there was some relationship in these families. The other thing we have to know, and this is if you study Islam in detail, even before Imams, because we know now we have 4 major schools, right? We mentioned Abu Hanifa. Do you know the other three? Yes. Malik. Not this Malik, the Imam Malik.
Hanafi.
So Hanafi is Abu Hanifa, right? Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Not Halabi. Halabi is from Aleppo. That's different, right? So the followers of Abu Hanifa would be Hanafis. The followers of Imam Malik would be Malikis. The followers of Imam Shafi'i would be Shafi'is. And the followers of Imam Ahmad would be Hanbalis. All right? But what happened since the time of the Prophet ﷺ, or maybe toward the end of the life of the Prophet, there were some companions who migrated to Iraq. Mainly, it was a big companion by the name of Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he knew a lot from the Prophet. He learned a lot from the Prophet ﷺ. And he established a school in Iraq. And he had students. And some of these students actually were the teachers of Imam Abu Hanifa, as we're going to see. So anyway, Abu Hanifa was not interested in sacred knowledge. He did not know much about Islam or religion. He was a Muslim, of course, but he did not know much. And he was into business, and he in fact had a really good mentor to teach him how to do business. Until one day, he was walking, and you can tell if somebody is bright. I mean, you could see the exuberance, I think, or you can see they're bright in their faces. And there was a big scholar passing by. And that scholar was Imam al-Sha'bi. He was a big scholar. And when he saw Abu Hanifa, a young man, he approached him. And he told him, "What do you do, young man?" Somebody came to you today and asked you that question. Huh? What are you good at? Like, I can play, games, and I'm really good at Xbox. I'm the best. I sleep 12 hours, 14 hours. So anyway, Imam al-Sha'bi asked Abu Hanifa, "What do you do?" He said, "I have a store and I run it. I run it for my father, and I'm really doing good in business." And he told him, "You have a talent for much more than that. Like you're not utilizing all of your talent. Like there is some hidden talent you have that you're not really utilizing. You should consider," he said, "you should consider seeking knowledge." And Abu Hanifa looked like, what are you talking about? What knowledge? He said, sacred knowledge, al-ilm. The knowledge from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This is the kind of knowledge I'm talking about. And Imam Abu Hanifa was like, "Okay, let me see what I can do about this." So he took it very seriously. He took that advice. And he went around, and Kufa was a big city, and there were many scholars. And he started asking, what kind of knowledge should I seek? What are the knowledge, branches that I can seek? And he met some people and told them, "Well, you could study Quran, and you study the recitations, and tajweed, and all of that." So Imam Abu Hanifa, look how smart he is. And this is how you should do it, by the way. If you're studying any major, he said, "Okay, and after all this, what am I going to do with it? What's going to happen to me? What's the end result?" So he was thinking about the end. As we say today, you start with the end in mind. This is exactly how Abu Hanifa was operating. He said, "What can you do with that? Like if I get, today you go study for a degree, ask yourself, what am I going to do with that degree? Even if you go study Islam, what am I going to do with it?" Some people are just very mechanical. Like, I just want to study fiqh for the sake of it. I'm going to go and study sharia for the sake of it. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to serve Islam with it? So they told him, "Well, what you're going to do, you're going to start teaching children, and you're going to teach them how to recite Quran, and then one of them will become better than you at the end." So Imam Abu Hanifa thought a little bit and said, "This is a noble cause, but I don't think so." And then he moved on. He said, "What else?" They told him, well, you can become a scholar of hadith. Okay, what do I do? Well, they said, you learn the narrations from the Prophet and you teach them to others and stuff. He said, okay, what is the end game? What would I do in 20 years? He said, well, at the end of your life, your memory will become weak and you're going to forget a lot of hadith and they're going to label you as matruk. Like, they won't follow you anymore because if you start forgetting hadith, you become blacklisted among the scholars of hadith. He said, again, it sounds really enticing, but I don't think so. And then he asked, they said, like poetry, like this is a big thing in the past, like studying literature today. So you can go into poetry. And he said, okay, and then what? He said, well, you end up either praising a prince or a king, or maybe critiquing someone else like you don't like, and so on. Until, he didn't like that obviously, until he asked about fiqh. And they told him, well, fiqh will give you the ability to solve people's problems. It'll give you the ability to answer difficult questions. You're going to be able to make people's life easy. You might be a judge and be able to solve many cases. No, being a judge is not haram. There is some discouragement from being a judge, but doesn't make it haram. Obviously, we need judges. But there's a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, since you mentioned it. It says, whoever accepts being a judge, it's like you're willing to be slaughtered without a knife or something like that. And the reason it says that is because it is really hard to be just. And the Prophet wants us to be very careful about judgments. But of course, we need judges and questions later. You were able to slip one question, alhamdulillah, but that's good. So anyway, Imam Abu Hanifa was really interested in fiqh after that. So the next thing he did, and again, this is important, any kind of knowledge you seek. He said, okay, can you show me the best scholar in fiqh in the vicinity of Kufa? Like, don't waste my time with a small time, scholar. I want the best faqih, the best scholar of fiqh. And they directed him to Imam Hamad bin Abi Salama. He was the greatest scholar of the time in that town. And this is how Abu Hanifa started seeking knowledge. Now he went to this Imam and he became his student. And he stayed a student of his for 18 years. 18 years. This is a serious student. If you want to study Islam, you go study with a person for 2 months, you go attend, a quick camp with Bayina or something like that, and then you claim you're the scholar of the 2 Americas or something like that. Just calm down. I mean, it takes a while to become a serious student of knowledge, and you have to be patient. So Imam Abu Hanifa went to Hamad and he said, I want to be your student. And Hamad looked at him, I don't recognize this person. He was not known for knowledge. He said, I'm really serious and I am, I have lots of credentials and I am successful in this and that, and I really want to study fiqh. So Imam Hamad asked him, what do you do for a living? Because that's important. You cannot just abandon this life and you say, I'm going to go study forever, and you don't have any source of income, and then you become dependent on this masjid or that board, and they pay you, and they may not pay you on time, and you become upset. No. It's better to have your own job. Don't be dependent on anyone. I don't care if you're an imam or a scholar or a mufti. Be your own self. Depend on yourself. Because then you're going to be able to give your opinions without being influenced by this, this person or this board or this group. So when he told him, I'm a businessman, Imam Hamad told him, great. Don't leave your job. Stay in your job. And then he became a student of Imam Hammad bin Salama. There's an interesting story that happened. So after like 3 years, Imam Abu Hanifa became a brilliant student. And Imam Hammad recognized him by allowing him to sit right next to him. So if one of you is really good, maybe one day, you never know, you can end up here. So you better pay attention. See, now you are not even, no. Some of you are really good students. In fact, something else that used to happen, like the really good students would be right in the front, and then the rest. But since, you could say back then, in one halaqah, you could have like 1,000 people or more. In some halaqat, you could have like 4,000. Like Imam Ahmad, for example, sometimes he would have like 3,000, 4,000 people. And only like 400, 500 are even into fiqh. And the rest are just chilling, like they're just there. They love to see Imam Ahmad, I think. Maybe he looked good, I don't know. He was. But one thing they would come for is they wanted to learn from the mannerism. This is really important, by the way. They wanted to learn from the adab, the manners of the scholar. So you may not be interested in knowledge. You might say, this is hard for me. I know nothing about fiqh. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe hadith is not cut for me. But I'm here to learn from the manners and the etiquette of the scholar. So that's why you had many, many people attend for that reason. But the bright students would be in the front. So something happened after 10 years. So 10 years later, quick, let's go there. Because we don't have time to cover all of the story of Imam Abu Hanifa. So these are just like highlights. But I thought this one was really important. One day, it dawned on Abu Hanifa that, I've been here for 10 years. How come I'm not the leader here? How come I'm not the one, doing the halaqah, like doing the lecture or giving the talk? And he thought, what? I'm going to go and start another halaqah in the same masjid. See, right? We're humans, right? And it can happen sometimes. So he said, I'm going to go and start another halaqah because it seems like I'm as good as my teacher. Don't you ever think about doing that here, Yaman. I'm specifically talking about you, Yaman. Oh, Talal, okay. We're going to have to talk. But look what happened. So Imam Abu Hanifa walks to the masjid. He walks to the masjid. And as soon as he sees his teacher trying to get ready, sitting down and trying to get ready to give the halaqah, he froze. He said, no way I can do this. And he said, look, this man, he taught me everything. And I can't do this. This is like totally disloyal. And I don't have the guts to do it anyways. In his face, no way. So what he did, to punish himself, he said, I'm not going to even sit next to him anymore. I'm going to go and sit with the other people. Because I was not able to guard myself. And he went and sat with the rest of the people. And in the same night, coincidentally, a letter came to Imam Hammad, the teacher. And the letter says, you're going to have to leave the city at once and go take care of some inheritance of some relative in a different city. Same night. So Imam Hammad, of course, thinks of who? Abu Hanifa, his favorite student. And he said, Imam Abu Hanifa, I want you to take care of my halaqah. You have to take my position, take my place until I come back. So you see, sometimes when you're patient, there's a mathal, there's like a saying in Arabic, من تعجل الشيء قبل أوانه ابتلي بحرمانه. If you try to rush things, sometimes we're so impatient. We're rushing things. It says Allah will test you by taking it away from you. Because you're rushing it too much, you'll never have it. You'll never get it. But see, Imam Abu Hanifa was very patient, right? So, in the same night, he got what he wanted without a fight. Like we always want to fight, right? Imam Abu Hanifa got it without any fight. And for the next 2 months at least, he was able to lecture, he was able to talk in the position and the place of his sheikh. Now when he came back, when the sheikh came back, Imam Abu Hanifa also realized how important the teacher was. Because he had like 60 different questions that he tried to answer in his absence, but he wasn't sure about. So these are 60 new questions that he never heard of before. He attempted to answer, and he gave an answer, but he was not sure about. And this is why I say it is very important for the scholar of fiqh. It's not about, see, nowadays we look into all these people trying to resurrect these old schools of Maliki and Shafi'i. What do you know about Maliki? You think you're a big shot Maliki or something. The idea is not that you resurrect something that is old. The idea is you're able to answer new questions. Imam Abu Hanifa, in 2 months, there were 60 new questions that came to him. And of course, he tried his best to answer, and I'm sure he gave a great answer. But he wanted to check with his sheikh. He wanted to check with his sheikh. And he sat down with Imam Hamad, and they went over all 60. And 40 they agreed on, and 20 they disagreed. But then, right then and there, Imam Abu Hanifa realized how important it is not to come up with your own opinion, to always consult. Even if you're a scholar, it is important to keep a relationship with your sheikh, keep a relationship with your teacher, keep a relationship with your friends who are also students of knowledge, and consult with them. Because it's not easy to come up with your own answer. See, nowadays what happens, you go study with a sheikh for 2 months, and then you declare your independence. You rebel against your sheikh, and now you start refuting that sheikh and writing rebuttals against the sheikh. Where is the loyalty? I mean, he taught you something. There was a really nice poetry by Imam al-Shafi'i. I hope I can remember it in Arabic. الحر من راعى ود لحظة وانتمى إلى من أفاده لفظة. He said. So Imam Shafi'i said the true definition of a free man. I mean, even back then they were talking about free people, or like freedom, or what is the definition of a truly free man? He said, الحر من راعى ود لحظة. Like you remember every moment of good time. You went and spent some time with a teacher, and you had some good time, you learned something. You will never forget it. You don't forget it. You know, you remember it 20 years later, and you say, may Allah, reward this man because he taught me something. Nowadays we see the opposite. We forget, and we become totally disloyal, and we start, instead of saying thank you, we start, attacking this man and this teacher, and it's really bad. And he said, وَانْتَمَى لِمَنْ أَفَادَهُ لَفْظًا. If someone ever benefited you with one word, like he said, one statement, lafza, one utterance, you declare loyalty to him, he said. وَانْتَمَى, like you declare loyalty to a teacher who taught you one word. Not, one book, not, for 2 years or 10 years, one word. He was able to, benefit you this much. You have loyalty to this man. وَانْتَمَى لِمَنْ أَفَادَهُ لَفْظًا. Nowadays we have, a man, he might have read only one book or listened to one YouTube video, and now he's given a khutbah or a halaqah, and he thinks he's a big shot. Yaman is so Yaman is so excited and so tempted by the idea. And Imam Abu Hanifa stayed with the same sheikh until he died. So 8 years later, the sheikh died, the teacher died. So it's a total of 18 years with the same teacher. Of course, he also learned from other shuyukh. Not only that, Imam Abu Hanifa, just to show you the loyalty, he would make dua to his teacher. He said, I make dua for my teacher every time I make dua for my mother and father. Imagine, obviously, the most passion, compassion you have is for the parents. If you want to make dua, you make dua to your parents. I hope you all do. Wake up. I hope you all do, right? He said, every time I make dua for my parents, I make dua for my teacher, Imam Muhammad. So this shows you the loyalty, and it shows you that he was a great man. This is the true definition of manhood, masculinity, and it's not toxic to do that, right? So one thing Abu Hanifa, when he took over, one thing he did, so after 18 years when his teacher died, Abu Hanifa introduced something new to that, because it became like a school. And we know since then, his method, his tradition became an actual school that people until now they follow. In fact, the largest following is to this Imam, Abu Hanifa, like among the Muslims. He has the largest following. So what he did after he took over, that position, he recognized few of the good students, like the people who are really paying attention. And he invited them to sit in the front. I'm so tempted to do that. I tell who can do that. And those became like the major students of Imam Abu Hanifa. Actually, it's not a bad idea.
We should have like 3 people every week.
And they rotate.
And they rotate depending next week the people that listen the most this week sit in the front.
That's a beautiful idea. Thank you, Imam.
How do you even measure that?
Huh?
How do you even measure that?
How do I measure that? No, I decide. So I'm gonna keep, paying attention to whoever is paying attention and not talking at the same time, because you could be paying attention and talking, so you won't qualify. But if you are paying attention and not speaking, then you qualify to become an advanced student, something like that. Not in my face. I don't want anyone to sit in my face. I don't like that.
Whoever is unsatisfied, Joyce might have a problem.
Oh, so you get all of the retards. No offense anymore. No, I'm not. Don't hold it against me. This was a joke. I don't know. Is that a bad word?
Yeah.
Is it? Want to vote? Who thinks it is a bad word? Who's offended?
If you are, you're retarded.
You're offended. Okay. So define. We have, a very open policy. You're welcome to say anything you like. Just don't curse. All right. Well, I'm glad we're having a good time. And pretty much done. If you have any questions, now we can take them. Okay, I cannot hear the question, obviously, because you all are talking. So can you... What's my? Oh, my Facebook. Oh, it's my name. Just search for my name. I can help you after. What's my name? Anas, A-N-A-S. And last name, H-L-A-Y-H-E-L. I'm sure you got it. I thought you all know my name. How can you not know my name? There you go. See? You qualify. You're going to be sitting next over here. Okay, questions? Yes.
So, in the beginning of the Hanifa, you mentioned how fiqh is there to answer modern problems, like problems that might not be fixed in all concepts of life. So can we still refer back to like the ideas of like Sheikh Hanifi, Sheikh Shafi, or Sheikh Maliki for current problems like technological innovation?
Yes, this is a really good question. So the question is, listen carefully. I said in the beginning that the purpose of fiqh is to answer modern problems or problems that are happening today, current issues. So the question is, if so, can we still refer to the old schools? Can we still refer to the Hanafi and the Maliki and the Shafi'i and the Hanbali schools? And by the way, these are not the only schools. There are many other schools, but these are the famous ones. And the answer is, of course, we have to. We have no choice but to do that for two reasons. One, because we have to realize that those schools established a foundation, which means it's not just opinions. It's not just opinions piled up. Rather, it is also a methodology. So the Hanafi school has a methodology. The Shafi'i school has a methodology. So it's really hard for somebody to come now and say, I'm going to invent a new methodology. You can, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of scholars, and we may need it at some point. We might need a new methodology if the current ones are not satisfactory. But I don't think we've exhausted that yet.
Would we be able to go back to them and look at them like under a magnifying glass, like go like letter by letter, like follow them letter by letter, for example, like strictly?
Should we go back and look with a magnifying glass and follow them letter by letter? Well, it depends. In the matters that have not changed, for example, in the matters of prayer, why do we have to reinvent prayer? If it's already been clarified and it's been, codified, it's like codifying the law. So if it's already been, serviced, and if it's serving our purpose of prayer, we should not have to go back and reinvent that. So for the matters that have not changed, we follow them. For the new matters, we could look at the methodology and use it, apply it today to solve modern problems. And if that's not enough, then we can look into new methods. Okay? Any other questions? I see a lot of side conversations. Yes, Saad.
Normally, whenever you're trying to understand a problem, you have to first. Whenever you're trying to understand a problem, you need to go to someone who has a knowledge of the issue. So, in that time period, when any of the imams, Imam Malik, and then Shafi.
I should make it a quiz that you have to remember those names properly. So I'm not talking about you in general.
Whenever they used to go and gain knowledge, they used to go to specific sources and they used to ask individuals who are strong in their field.
Yes.
So in today's societies, because when we're trying to find a religious answer to a modern day problem, we go to a religious person, but they don't have knowledge of that specific area. So you have an issue of you have a scientific problem, you go to a scholar of religion and they're like saying, oh no, Islam says it's clearly this is wrong, don't do it, but then science says otherwise, there are other ways of curtailing. So at that point, at what point, who do you really address it? Like, which side do you normally address? You have to go with a consensus between the religious scholar and the scientific scholar, or do you have to do your best judgment for that?
Okay. Again, a very good question. Let me rephrase quickly. The question is, usually when you're trying to when you're trying to answer a question, and the question obviously is not in vacuum. The question is either dealing with economics or science or inheritance, any of these issues. Obviously, you need an expert. So the question is, well, I might be a scholar of Islam, of religion, of religious law, but I'm not a scholar of economics. I'm not a scholar of secular law. I'm not a scholar of science and so on. So how do I answer? Do I go and consult with a scientist or with an attorney or with an economist, or do I and then the question is, do we rely more on the scientist or more on the scholar, the religious scholar? Very good question. Now, this problem was addressed in the past, and it was easier to address because back then, these fields were not mature enough. Like the field of economics, I mean, economics was simple compared to today. Science was simple compared to today. So a lot of these fields were not mature, a great deal. So it was easier to handle. It was possible for the same scholar to know a lot. The same scholar could have been or could have had some knowledge of medicine. We have many scholars who had good knowledge of astronomy, good knowledge of medicine, and so on. Nowadays, it becomes a little harder. It's still possible for the scholar to have some knowledge. And I say that all the time. If you are a scholar of religion, you should have at least some foundation in philosophy, in psychology, in science, in physics. I think it is important. So you don't look dumb. Sometimes you have to say something, you have to give a fatwa, and you express utter ignorance about a topic. It's not appropriate. But that does not qualify you necessarily to give an answer about a topic in those fields. So in that case, I think the solution is to form a committee. Who said that the fatwa has to come from one single person? So if we form a committee, let's say we have to decide on financial matters, we should form a committee and invite peoples of finance and accounting and economics, along with scholars of religion. And then we discuss the matter, we make sure that maybe the person of financial knowledge should explain matters to the religious scholar, and vice versa. And then we come up with, hopefully, a unanimous agreement on a particular issue. Great questions. Any other questions? Yes.
Enough question.
I guess, yes.
Okay. So I think we asked this question like a year ago, but I remember what you said. Do you think there's like any life forms outside of Earth?
Wow. Do I think there are any life forms outside of Earth? I don't know if that depends on my thinking. Extraterrestrial,
Alien.
we don't know. I mean, so okay. Is there anything in the Quran that indicates there are forms of life outside of Earth? I'm not quite sure, unless you can show me. So we know from science, by the way, there's no explicit proof. I mean, people have been looking for a while, especially in the last 150 years. Scientists have been trying to answer the question, and they've been looking for places where it's possible to have life. So they might be able to identify certain planets that might have similarities to Earth, and hence maybe the possibility of life. But you cannot ascertain that until you see it, you prove it. Just a second. Huh?
Were Adam and Eve on Earth? Wouldn't it just be us on Earth?
Say again, I didn't hear the beginning.
So, doesn't it say something about like in the Quran, Adam and Eve were the first life forms?
Does it say in the Quran that Adam and Eve were the first life forms on Earth? Well, if you say life form, that would include animals, right? Everything.
Well,
Humans. So we had that discussion before, and I don't want to, this is an important topic in my opinion. I don't think there is an explicit proof that Adam and Eve were the first humans. And I know this is a controversial issue. This is why I don't like to answer it quickly. I do have a lecture on that, and maybe in the future we can do another one if you're interested. There was somebody who said something in the back about khalq. Yes.
And how the earth will be created and what in the earth or what in the skies is the things you don't know. So if it's possibility, yes, it's possibility.
Sure, there's a possibility. Yeah, we cannot deny that. But whether we can say for sure, yeah, we don't know. let me take him first. Yes.
Scientists have found many Goldilocks planets out there.
You're right, but still they cannot ascertain. Still they cannot ascertain that there is life on it. So this is a step, yes, but until we're able to verify their actual life on those planets, like you said, then we're not sure for certain. But you're right; they found those types of planets. Very good. Yes.
Meteors found in ice.
Shh, guys, come on! I need to hear. Yes.
Meteors found in the ice in Antarctica have contained like microorganisms, like with, and all the surrounding ice didn't have any microorganisms, so there's that.
Sure, and those could have come from maybe a planet that is near, like Mars, for example, right? This is a theory like that. But have they proven that those microorganisms came from out of Earth? Ammar, I'm sure you have something to add.
Well, we know for a fact that Venus, Mars, and Earth were all trading asteroids.
Yes.
The fact that life is developing, and we know that the asteroids carried microbes, and many of the microbes we can find on Earth today have conditions that have like all kinds of reactions that don't make any sense unless they were traveling to the vacuum of
Sure.
space, the tardigrade and whatnot. So there was a point in time when there was constant flux of species moving in from Earth, Venus to Mars to Earth, Venus to Mars.
Yes.
So I mean, there could be alien life on there, but technically it's not really alien.
Alien life. Well, again, there are theories that life on Earth was initiated by Martian organisms, right? But again, it's a theory. But again, all of that is limited to the solar system. I mean, these things are limited to the solar system.
I have a question about the original topic.
Yes, thank you. So if you guys are so intrigued, we can have a topic about this, like life outside of Earth. How about that? Should we vote? You're down, yes. How many people? I know, because I have problems with the topic of jinn, though. But this one is more interesting, I think. I'll get to you. So how many people want to do this?
Wait, I have a problem though.
You have a problem?
You didn't do my halakha.
What's your halakha? You're serious now? Okay, go ahead, Yaman. Shh, guys. Yeah.
Hanifa was born in the 80th year of the Islamic calendar. Does that make him the first major fiqh or school of law?
Okay, so the question is, I said that Imam Abu Hanifa was born 80 Hijri. Does that make him the first major scholar? Of course, we had many scholars of Islam. Many companions were scholars, many tabi'een were scholars. So it does not make him the first major scholar, obviously, but it makes him the first of the four, yes. So of the four, okay, so the chronological order is Abu Hanifa, then Malik, then Shafi'i, then Ahmad, in that order. Yes. So Shafi'i studied with Malik. Imam Ahmad was a student of a Shafi'i. And also we have students of Imam Abu Hanifa who studied with Imam Malik. But Abu Hanifa did not meet Imam Malik. But especially his student, Imam Muhammad bin Hassan al-Shaybani, he went and studied with Imam Malik, and he has his own version of Muwatta. It's kind of different from the other versions of Muwatta, but it's a valid version of book Al-Muwatta. Okay, we're about to close. Oh, you have one more.
Yeah. So science has shown that humans started in Africa. Where were Adam and Eve put on Earth?
So that would be part of that topic. So the question is, science shows that humanity started in Africa. Where does that put Adam and Eve? So let's do that topic maybe next time, if there's enough consensus, and we'll address that as well. We have a question online. You want to ask?
Two things. One, I have two things to say. One, Mars used to be at the same place of Earth, so it used to contain life. Mars used to contain life. And two, Venus is too hot to contain life. If you go in it, you'll get burned. I mean, melted.
Good job. It's like what, 900 degrees Fahrenheit?
No.
It's not 900?
No.
How much?
No, it's like 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Check it. I think it's 900.
No, it's actually 2,000.
Okay. So there's a question online. Wow, this is deep. Is there really aliens in Area 51?
Yes.
Also, it was good there.
Hold on. I want to get this.
What's Area 51?
Okay. All right, guys, listen up. There's a. Hello. There's a question online. Did the great Imam Abu Hanifa have slightly different interpretation of Iman than the other four Imams? Well, the other three Imams, I think you mean. That's a deeper theological question. Yes, he had a slight difference in definition. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, Iman was mostly belief. According to other Imams, they would say al-imanu qawlun wa amal. They would say that Iman is a mix of belief and action. So they would include action in the definition of Iman. And the reason is because we know that actions will increase your Iman. Good actions will increase your Iman, and bad actions will decrease your Iman. So they included good actions or deeds. They included that in the definition of Iman. But Imam Abu Hanifa was more specific about that, and he defined Iman as strictly matters of belief. Okay, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. Oh, you have a question? Go ahead. Am I a scholar? No. This actually, coincidentally, there was the one here. Was that you who asked it? Oh, that was you. Wow. All right. Muhtadi. Are you Muhtadi? Ah, okay. We'll take that offline. Okay, I think we're good. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.